The story begins with an author named Osamu Dezai walking toward a river with a woman by his side. Upon reaching the river, Osamu deems it the perfect spot for their planned double suicide, and the woman agrees. They tie themselves together with a red string, believing this will ensure they remain together even in the afterlife. Just as they are about to jump into the river, a truck suddenly appears and hits them, teleporting Osamu to another world. Upon regaining his bearings, Osamu wonders if he has reached the afterlife, noting the Western-style surroundings. An elven priestess named Annette approaches him and explains that this is not the afterlife. She introduces herself as a guide for those who descend upon this world and tells him that he has been transported to a different world called Zauberberg, where he has been chosen to become a hero destined to bring light to this realm. Osamu is stunned by this turn of events, lamenting that he failed in his double suicide and ended up in a strange place instead. Annette observes that he seems to understand his situation, but he confesses that his life has been full of shame. As Annette tries to explain his mission, she notices that Osamu has poisoned himself and is near death. Quickly, she uses her skill called Purifying Light to detoxify him. Osamu, however, tells her she didn't need to save him and asks her to leave him alone. Annette insists that he is meant to be a hero and fulfill a great mission. Osamu dismisses her concerns, stating that he doesn't care about any mission and continues to casually consume poisonous pills, expressing his desire to find a place to die. Annette, bewildered, asks why he would want to die after being chosen by this world. Osamu retorts that he never asked to be chosen. Annette inquires if he encountered a truck, which Osamu confirms. Relieved, Annette explains that the truck he encountered was the Otherworld selection truck, responsible for bringing him to this world. She elaborates that the truck selects people leading unhappy lives in their old world and transports them to another world, offering them a fresh start. If the truck came for him, it indicates he was unhappy in his previous life. She congratulates him on being given this chance. This angers Osamu, who explains that the truck interrupted his double suicide, which he considered the happiest moment of his life. Annette is taken aback, and Osamu asserts that she has no right to decide what constitutes happiness for someone else. Annette, puzzled by his reaction, thinks that once Osamu sees his stats, he might change his mind. Annette explains that every human brought to this world is granted superhuman abilities. However, she soon notices that Osamu is exceptionally weak. His level is 1. He has only a single health point and no magic at all. His stats screen is colored red, indicating he is on the verge of death. She realizes he is still poisoned despite her detoxification efforts and suspects a system error, as no one should be this weak. She searches for any special skills he might possess, but finds nothing. This is the first time she has encountered such a weak otherworlder. Osamu then tries to leave the church, but Annette stops him, stating that he might have been brought to this world by mistake. She tells him that he doesn't have the ability to survive here, and Osamu, agreeing, mentions that he is branded a failure no matter which world he is in. Annette apologizes for the mistake and asks him to stay at the church for a while, as he is too weak to survive on his own. She warns that he will be killed the moment he steps outside, but Osamu tells her not to worry about him, as he is just looking for a suitable place to die. As he tries to leave, Annette reflects on how different he is from other heroes she has guided. She recalls her initial pride in guiding otherworlders, but over time, she became disillusioned, merely flattering arrogant and pretentious heroes. Osamu, however, is different. She tries to stop him again, suggesting that he at least choose a profession before leaving. Osamu insists he doesn't need to as he is a born author. He then leaves the church, and Annette feels that he is the man she has been waiting for her whole life. The scene shifts to Osamu standing at a checkpoint, unable to read a single word written there. He realizes he won't find a cafe around here. Suddenly, he hears a voice in his head informing him that he has discovered a landmark called the Great Plains of Estern, gaining 5 experience points. Osamu, suffering from migraines, asks the voice to stop speaking directly in his mind. The voice, however, announces that he has risen to level 2. Osamu, feeling overwhelmed, hears a girl screaming in the distance. He goes to investigate and finds a cat girl trapped by a monster called a death tree. The girl pleads for help, explaining she will be killed if he doesn't act. Osamu, noticing her oddly shaped ears, muses about the allure of dying women. The girl, desperate, asks if he has any weapons or spells, but Osamu is soon captured by the death tree as well. Hanging from the tree, the girl calls him useless. Osamu smiles, saying they don't have much longer to live, and the girl blames him for their predicament. She explains that death trees have a suction skill that steals life force, and they will both die in a few minutes. Osamu, excited by the prospect, asks if she feels the same. The girl, perplexed by his demeanor, tells him to not give up as he begins to feel weak. As the tree sucks the last of his life force, Osamu rides in pleasure, but he soon stops responding. The girl, fearing the worst, accepts this place as her grave. Suddenly, the death tree begins to rot, starting from the branch holding Osamu. In moments, the entire tree rots and breaks, releasing both of them. The girl, confused, realizes Osamu's poison must have killed the tree. The voice in Osamu's head announces that his poison dealt 300 points of damage to the death tree, raising him to level 3. The girl, impressed, asks if he poisoned himself on purpose, suspecting he pretended to be weak. Osamu lights a cigarette, explaining that every time he tries to die, something like this happens. He reveals that he has attempted suicide 5 times, but it has never gone as planned. The girl, not understanding his depression, is nonetheless grateful she survived and thanks him. She invites him to her place to properly thank him, asking his name while holding his hand. Osamu notices the red string on his hand and thinks about Sachin, the girl he tried to commit double suicide with. Ignoring the cat girl, he resolves to find Sachin, believing she must be in this world too since they were hit by the truck together. He declares that his new purpose is to find Sachin and attempt double suicide again. Meanwhile, back at the church, Annette prays to the gods, asking them to protect Osamu and let her meet him again someday. Osamu enters the church with Annette feeling relieved to see him again, but her curiosity is piqued by the presence of another girl with him. Osamu promptly explains that he has a question for her. He is searching for a woman named Sachin and asks if Annette knows where he might find her. Annette is taken aback by the fact that Osamu is now looking for yet another woman. The scene then transitions to Osamu and the cat girl standing in the plains outside the church. Osamu admits to himself that he has no idea where to find Sachin. The cat girl, trying to cheer him up, assures him that he will eventually find her. She suggests that since they have a long journey ahead, they should stop by the castle town of Wrath on their way to her place. As she attempts to lead Osamu by the hand, Annette intervenes, stopping her from holding his hand in public. The cat girl questions why Annette decided to join them in the first place. Embarrassed, Annette quietly gazes at Osamu, and the cat girl quickly deduces that Annette is in love with him. Annette, flustered, insists that her motives are not impure, and that she simply has a responsibility to protect this weak otherworlder. Surprised, the cat girl remarks that Osamu is an otherworlder, which, she believes, explains his strength. Annette is confused by this, as she knows Osamu is supposed to be weak, which is why she feels obligated to stay with him. The cat girl clarifies that Osamu killed a death tree with a single attack and saved her life. Annette feels devastated upon learning that Osamu and the cat girl have already formed such a close bond that he saved her life. She grows angry at the cat girl. At that moment, they both notice Osamu lying in a coffin. He tells them that he plans to sleep in it for a while and asks them to wake him up when they arrive at the city. He wishes Annette and Tama a good night. The cat girl tries to correct him, saying her name is not Tama. but Osamu is already asleep. Annette, feeling smug, takes satisfaction in the fact that Osamu only addressed her by the correct name. She then drags the sleeping Osamu towards the city, leading the cat girl to question whether Annette is truly a clergywoman. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a princess sits with a forlorn expression on her face. Afterwards, we see Tama and Annette struggling to pull a heavy coffin containing Osamu. Tama, frustrated with the weight, shouts at Osamu to come out and walk on his own. Receiving no response, she wonders if he is dead. Annette checks his stats and finds that his single hit point HP is still intact, reassuring Tama that he is merely resting. Tama tells Annette to watch her phrasing and scolds her for calling her by her name. Inside the coffin, Osamu thinks about Sachin and wishes to find her to commit double suicide together. The scene shifts to them arriving in town, where they wake up Osamu. As he sees the otherworldly town, he thinks it isn't so bad. Annette suggests they go to the castle to have an audience with the king. They head to the castle, leaving the coffin behind, which causes curiosity among the townspeople. Later, they meet the King of Wrath, who introduces himself as Thomas, and his daughter Charlotte. The king invites them to rest in the castle's bedchamber for the night. Tama and Annette praise the king for his kindness, but he mentions he has a condition for their stay. The king explains that he loves hearing stories from travelers and asks them to share pleasant memories from their journeys. Osamu, with a menacing look, asks if the king would like to know how it feels to sleep in a coffin. The king, frightened, wonders if he is being threatened. Annette quickly changes the subject by complimenting the princess's beauty, and the king reveals she is getting married soon. The king then asks for their advice on whom his daughter should marry. Two men are brought into the throne room: Gomez, a valiant knight, and Otto, a minstrel known as the Voice of Love. The king explains that due to increased monster activity influenced by the wrathful Dark Lord, he is too old to deal with the threat himself. Therefore, he has decided that one of these two men will marry his daughter and become the next king. However, Charlotte has yet to choose between them. The king asks for their advice on this critical choice. Osamu bluntly states that he has no idea and criticizes the king for asking travelers to decide such an important matter. He calls the king a tyrant for ruling his daughter's life and declares that he is not even fit to be a king. Osamu then tries to leave, stating that he has no right to speak since he feels unworthy of living in any world. Annette and Tama apologize on his behalf, explaining that Osamu is an otherworlder and doesn't understand how this world works. The king, surprisingly understanding, forgives Osamu after learning of his otherworldly origins. Later that night, Osamu struggles to sleep in their room. Annette wakes up and asks if something is troubling him. Osamu reveals that he never sleeps well. Annette hesitantly asks about Sachin, but Osamu remains silent. She then notices a tail sticking out from his sheets and finds Tama sleeping on his thighs. Annette wakes the shameless cat with a punch to the gut, questioning how she can casually sleep on a man's thighs. Tama angrily explains that she was just feeling cold and followed the natural instincts of her species, leading to more bickering between the two. Osamu leaves the room to escape the incessant bickering between Tama and Annette, wandering around the castle until he encounters the princess gazing solemnly at the beautiful lake scenery. He strikes up a conversation, remarking on the lovely view. She agrees, and he darkly muses that the tranquil lake makes him want to drown himself. The princess, bewildered, asks if he is truly so troubled that he wishes to end his life. Osamu replies that she appears more troubled than he is and inquires about her worries. She confides in him about her dilemma in choosing between Gomez and Otto. She explains that Gomez, though a recent addition to their castle, has quickly become their most dependable soldier, earning her father's trust and being a sensible choice for the future of the kingdom. However, Otto, her childhood friend, has always been there for her, singing songs to lift her spirits. Unsure whom to choose, she feels torn between duty and affection. Osamu empathizes, sharing that his life has been a continuous series of troubles, marked by multiple suicide attempts and great inconvenience to his family. However, he emphasizes that he never asked anyone else to decide his fate. He advises the princess to listen to her own desires and make a choice based on her heart, then leaves her to ponder his words. The next day, Osamu and his companions are summoned for another audience with the king. The king announces that Charlotte has finally made her decision regarding her marriage. He asks them to witness her choice. Annette thinks Gomez would be best for the kingdom's future, while Tama prefers Otto, believing he is a better match for the princess. Before they can start arguing, the king instructs Charlotte to stand before her chosen suitor. To everyone's shock, she takes Osamu's hand and declares that she will commit double suicide with him. Annette faints from the shock of Osamu having another woman in his life. Charlotte explains that after talking with Osamu, she realized that Otto only sought her company to perform his new songs, even when she was happy. This revelation makes it clear that he was using her for his own satisfaction. Additionally, she finds Gomez unappealing due to his odor. The king urges his daughter to choose a husband, but Charlotte angrily retorts that he never considered her feelings and reveals that she doesn't want to get married at all. She appreciates Osamu for being the only one to respect her opinion. Understanding her reasoning, Osamu agrees to the double suicide plan. However, before they can proceed, Gomez removes his helmet and transforms into a minotaur. He confesses that he planned to take over the kingdom and offer it to the Dark Lord, but didn't expect the princess to see through his disguise. Confused, Osamu asks if Charlotte knew his true identity, but she had no idea and simply thought he smelled bad. Flustered, the Minotaur declares that he will kill them all. Tama tries to wake Annette, knowing she can't fight the beast alone. Soldiers attempt to subdue the Minotaur, but are easily defeated. Rubble from the battle almost hits Annette, but Tama saves her. Tama then confronts the Minotaur, ready to fight. Otto, the minstrel, tries to assist, revealing his surprisingly high level of 89. He sings a song, but it has no effect. The Minotaur attacks Tama, but she deflects him, though her attacks seem ineffective against his sturdy horns. The Minotaur, excited by the challenge, prepares to attack Tama with full force, but Osamu intervenes, asking if they can be killed first. He explains the princess's wish to commit double suicide and requests that the Minotaur use his magnificent horns to fulfill their desire. Tama and the king protest, but Osamu remains resolute. The Minotaur agrees, planning to kill the king and destroy the city afterward. As the Minotaur prepares to kill them, Osamu reassures the trembling princess that their wish is about to be granted. The Minotaur charges at Osamu and the princess, with Tama and the king desperately trying to save them, but unable to reach them in time. At the critical moment, the princess gets cold feet and declares that she can't die yet. She wants to live and protect the people of her kingdom. Osamu, anticipating her change of heart, tells her that she is a kind princess and pushes her out of the Minotaur's path, saying she is not fit to be his partner in a double suicide. Before the Minotaur can strike Osamu, Annette erects a powerful barrier, declaring she won't let Osamu die like this. The barrier is so strong that it breaks the Minotaur's horns. Seizing the opportunity, Tama delivers a powerful attack that sends the Minotaur flying out of the castle and into the lake. Exhausted from the fight, the two girls relax. Tama thanks Annette for her help, and Annette reciprocates. The song-loving minstrel attempts to write a song about their budding friendship, but they quickly stop him, having had enough of his songs. The king then apologizes to his daughter for not considering her feelings and admits he is unfit to be a king or her father. The princess forgives him, suggesting they should discuss the future of the kingdom and their relationship together. The king is pleased to hear this. Osamu smiles, glad that everything worked out, but he feels a tinge of sadness as he once again failed to die. Later, we see Charlotte has become the Queen of Wrath. When soldiers report that monsters have appeared at the city's south gate, She orders the royal guard to exterminate them, expressing her reliance on each soldier to protect the kingdom. Meanwhile, outside the city, Tama and Annette are dragging Osamu in a coffin once more. They remark on Charlotte's bold decision to become queen and hope she will be all right. Osamu reassures them that Charlotte made this decision herself, so there is no need to worry. He then emerges from the coffin, declaring that while dying women are beautiful, there is also a certain charm to women who can stand on their own. Tama tells him to stop with his analogies and start walking, but he retreats back into the coffin. This brings an end to episodes 1 and 2. Please like, share, and subscribe for the latest anime recap updates.